Howdy, everyone. All right, so there it is. The engine is now on the airplane. And if I didn't mention it before, the airplane is now officially on the landing gear. I have the tail wheel installed, and it is sitting on its tail wheel, and of course on the main gear. And now I've got the engine installed. So I used just a run-of-the-mill engine hoist. I don't know if I talked about this before, but this is just a Harbor Freight deal. It's a 1-ton hoist. That worked really well. I used a strap between the loop here on the engine and the hook on the engine hoist. A short strap. And I think that strap also was rated for like 1 ton or something like that, 800 pounds, I forget. But so the insulators, I've talked about those before. You want the ribbed insulator on the compression side. So again, just to reiterate, on the top, you want the ribbed insulator on the back, and then on the bottom 2 mounts areas, you want the ribbed insulator on the front. So you always want those ribbed ones in compression. So the installation took a long time. I was by myself, getting the engine from that vertical position where it was on the engine stand to a horizontal position. I had help doing that. I left the engine stand bolted to it, and I just used that as leverage to kind of level it out, and then I unbolted the stand. That seemed to work pretty good. No issues, just, it's mildly unsettling when you think this engine is just going to whip around on you. But I had help with that. And then once it was suspended from the engine hoist, I was out here by myself. And it took a while just because the way that the bolts, or the way that the engine mount is designed, with the bolts, the 4 bolts all pointing to an imaginary point out in space, you almost have to do... It'd be nice if you can do them all at once, but that's not really possible, I guess. I don't know. But anywho, I pretty much just followed the van's directions. When you look in the engine section of the manual, they have some written instructions that basically say to bring it up to the mount on top, and lift it so you kind of get the angle correct, and then run your 2 top bolts in, and then put the nuts on just so the bolts don't back out, not that they would. And then you lower it, and that will swing the bottom in, and it will also mildly compress the insulator so you can run those bolts in. Sounds simple. It wasn't. I just went back and forth and around and tried different angles and tried moving the engine this way and, different angles on the engine. And, I had it really jacked up and not so much jacked up and things like that. So it was very tedious. It wasn't the most fun project for me, especially when you've got everything nice and new and painted and clean. And, you hate to start jacking around and chipping paint. And, not that I did that, but it's still, it's just one of those things, right? So you work through it methodically, take your time, work your way around, try different scenarios. Again, didn't videotape just because when I get working on stuff, I just want to work. I don't want to worry about, I need to turn the camera off, or I need to switch angles, or, what am I wearing, whatever, right? So I don't do a lot of real-time video. But it's on, and like I said, I've got castle nuts, so those are cotter pinned, and there it is. So next, not sure, I got to start doing some assembly. I've got all the other nonsense that goes on to this. That's next, right? So I'm going to give that some thoughts, and I'm going to start throwing things on and getting things bolted up and connected, and start thinking about fuel lines and cables for the throttle and the mixture and the prop and things of that nature. So a lot of work to do, engine related. I've got all of the different sensors and what do I want to call them? The different instrumentation things that need to be connected for, fuel pressure and EGT and all that good stuff. So a lot of physical, mechanical install, plus yet again, I've got to go back and do some more wiring and things of that nature. So as always, thanks for stopping in, and I will talk to you guys here later. Howdy, everyone. All right, this is going to be really quick, just a short snippet here to bring you up to speed on what I've been doing. Nothing exciting. Most of it is cleaning. Some of it was loose end stuff. So just as a for instance, I connected my couple of tubes that I had run for the pedostatic going out to the wing. I had run those up to the ethos, but I never connected them because at the time the ethos was out under warranty, getting some stuff fixed on it. So I made those connections on the back of the ethos and connected those tubes. You can see that I've got the fuel servo installed. And just as a quick recap, so this engine was brand new, built in 2012, but never installed in an airplane. And other than the hour and a half run on the manufacturer's test stand, it has sat since then. So I bought it a couple years ago, disassembled it, cleaned it, put everything back together, repainted it. This is the fuel servo that came with it, and under the guidance of a very trusted source, I decided to just clean it up and install it and run it as is. So I spent a lot of time yesterday doing the cleaning on this servo, and now it is installed. What else? Of course, the starter was already on there from months and months ago when I initially did the engine installation. Another loose end item is the castle nuts, like I had talked about. This is held. Mine came with mounts and bolts and castle nuts, so I went ahead and used those. I put the cotter pins in those yesterday. This bottom left one is the most fun. The other three are not so bad, but I did get them in, and those are now cotter pinned. Like I said, I did the pedostatic connections on the back of the ethos. And now, if you can excuse the mess, I'm getting ready to install my inter-cylinder baffles. These were an absolute mess. I literally just came in from cleaning these. I cleaned them outside because they were just horrible. Because like I said, this engine's been sitting since 2012, so it accumulated a lot of debris. But these are cleaned up and are now ready to roll. This is what I'll be installing next. I've got other things that I can do, but I'm going to wait on them because I want to replace the fittings. It's just a preference. Most of the fittings are a color that I'm not too keen on. Not that it matters. Nobody will probably ever see it, but it bothers me. So I'm going to order some new fittings in the color of my choice and go from there. So I'm going to put these baffles in next. And I'm not sure what I'll work on, but I'm just starting to pick away at all the other accessories and different things that need to be connected to this thing. So thanks for stopping in. Talk to you guys later. Howdy, everyone. All right, so I'm going to try to get you guys caught up on where I am so far this morning with getting this engine stuff figured out and installed. So it's been a little while since I've made a video, so this is a little refresher for me as well. So if I've covered something that I've already talked about, I apologize up front. But that's just how things go, right? So let's see. I've already talked about the fuel servo, so I'm not going to talk about that. You can see that I now have my alternator in place. This is a plain power alternator. I believe it's a 70 amp alternator. Brackets, everything like that. Of course, it's not physically where it needs to be. Everything is still a little loose because it would need to be adjusted once I get the belt on it. I have these inlet tubes. These are just temporary. I haven't even cleaned these yet. These are just slid on here with the rubber hose. They're just slid in place roughly, And I'm using these as a guide to help me figure out where I want to run my other things. So you can see I'm just starting to run some electrical cable. So this cable here, this is the starter cable that is obviously attached to the starter here. And then I've got a clamp here, which is attached to one of the bolts on the oil sump. And then it runs across. I've got a couple more clamps in here. You can see this is it here. This comes across here. And then it passes from the engine to the engine mount, and then it comes around and it connects to my PPS for the starter output here. And I'm just getting ready I'm trying to figure out how to run my alternator cable. And like I said, that's where these kind of come in. I want these in place, these inlet tubes in place, to help me figure out where I can run other things without interfering. You can see that I have my oil cooler temporarily mounted. And that was again, this just shows you why I'm doing this, right? Because initially I was going to run these wires on this leg here of the engine mount. And then I realized that my oil mount makes use of this. So I thought, let me get that mounted, at least temporarily, and it is temporary. But at least let me get it in place as a placeholder so I can run other things in and around it, and not, come back after the fact to put this in and be like, oh crap, I got a bunch of wires and tubes in the way that I totally forgot about. So this is temporarily installed, and I'm, trying to run wires. So the other thing that I have been doing is just simple stuff. I've been installing, here's the line for the prop governor. This is a new fitting. This is an existing stainless steel line, 3/8 for the prop governor. That's installed. I've been installing various pipe plugs. There's one here, just little plugs like this. I've been buying new ones, aluminum ones, and putting them in place in various locations. And that's about it so far. I've been purchasing some items, simple consumables, and I'm kind of waiting for them to show up so I can continue on with a lot of this. But until then, I'm just going to continue to route wires, tubes, things of that nature. I'm trying to work from the inside out. So again, I'll come back to this side. Before I install these inlet tubes permanently, I want to try to figure out everything that needs to be ran from inside the engine, if you will, closest to the engine. And then as I work my way out, I can install other things like these tubes. I don't want to install these tubes permanently. I don't want to install the radiator cooler permanently and then try to run wires and tubes and things like that, snake them in, around, and between all this stuff. It could get in the way. It needs to be there just as a placeholder so I know where I can run stuff, but I don't want to put it on permanently. I want to be able to take these things off to give me access to the different components that I'm trying to install. So I think I'm going to continue with that, kind of work on the bottom, work my way out, and then I'll go up and work on the top. The top's a little bit easier for access, so I'll start working on fuel lines and things like that a little bit later. So that's all I'm doing now. I'm just trying to piece this thing together. This, as you probably already know if you've been following my channel, this is a non-standard engine. It's not a Vans purchase engine. So there is no firewall forward kit for this. So my firewall forward is all custom. It's all on me, and I'm trying to work my way through it. So that's that. That's I believe that's the latest and greatest. And as always, if I get something worthy of noting, I'll be back. If not, it'll probably just be another catch-up video a little bit later on when I've got some more stuff in place. So thanks for stopping in. Talk to you guys later.